Good morning students. Today we are going to start lesson number 7, Grandma Climbs a Tree, written by the famous poet Ruskin Bond. Ruskin Bond was born in Kasauli in Punjab province in the year 1934. He did most of his schooling from Bishop Cotton School, Shimla. During this time, he won many accolades in writing like the Irwin Divinity Prize and the Haley Literature Prize. His literary talent in England. He wrote his first novel named Room on the Roof when he was all 17 years. It was a semi-autobiographical story on the life of an orphaned Anglo-Indian boy reflecting parts of his own life. Ruskin Bond has now been writing for more than 6 decades. He has stressed more on the local elements of the Himalayas in his writing. His writing style is distinct in a way that it tries to make reader understand the landscape and ethos through carefully mastered words. He received the Sahitya Akademi Award for English writing in India for Our Trees Still Grow in Dehra in 1990. Now let's start the poem. But before starting, I want to ask you one question. Have you ever been to a tree house before? Would you like to live in a tree house? Write in 3 to 5 words. And write about your grandma. What your grandma likes to do. Knitting, stitching, anything. So let's read about the poet's grandma, what she loves to do. It's a very simple poem and beautiful poem. In this poem, the poet recalls the memory of his grandmother. And the speaker of this poem is Ruskin Bond himself. He speaks about his grandma who was 62 years old. But she still behaved like a child. That means the poet's grandma is of childish nature. He portrays his unconditional love for his grandmother in this poem. He informs his reader about the passion of his grandmother, that is, climbing the trees. Let's see what he writes. My grandmother was a genius. You would like to know why? Because she could climb trees, spreading or high. She would be up their branches in a trice, and mind you, when last she climbed a tree, she was 62. So this is the first stanza of the poem. Here, the poet tells about his grandmother. He describes his grandmother a genius. Why she was a genius? Because unlike others' grandmothers, she could climb a tree. And she won't see that the tree is high or low. She could climb any tree at the age of 62 years. Okay. Then and she would climb trees very quickly. Then let's see what happens in the second para. Ever since childhood, she had this gift for being happier in a tree than in a lift. Now, poet's grandmother is nature enthusiastic. She loves nature. So, since her childhood, she could climb a tree. And she had got it as a gift of loving. What is her gift? Loving nature, loving trees. And she was very happy on a tree than in a lift. So unlike modern days when we prefer a lift rather in stairs, she is still in this age of 62 loved climbing trees. In fact, the closeness to the nature or any tree made her more happier than in a big building or anywhere else. And though as years went by, she would be told that climbing trees should stop when one grew old. Now everybody is becoming worried about her, na? Because it is not appropriate for a woman who is very old, because old people tend to fall here and there and they cannot see properly. and others were also worried about her, that grandma, at this age you should take a rest, stop climbing the trees, you will get hurt. But what she wants, see, she was not listening to anybody. And that growing old should be gone about gracefully. So people told that it is not appropriate for a woman of her age to climb trees, and there should be, means old age people should be graceful, means they don't do this kind of things, they sit at one place and relax. But what was grandma did? She would laugh and say, well, I'll grow old disgracefully. So what she wanted? She wanted closeness to the nature and to the trees. So she would laugh at their suggestions, and she would say that I would rather grow old as I like, means close to the nature. And she always knew what she wanted from the nature. I can do it better, and we had to agree. Now Bond's entire family was concerned about his grandmother, but everybody has to agree to her. For in all the garden there wasn't a tree she hadn't been up at one time or another, having learned to climb from a loving brother when she was 6. So there was not a single tree left in the garden at where or on which grandma hadn't climbed. And this art of climbing a tree she had learned from her loving brother when she was just a kid at 6 years old, and she found it thrilling and she loved to do that. But it was feared by all that one day she would have a terrible fall. But what happened? Grandma was growing old, and everybody in the poet's family was worried that one day she might fall or injure herself. The outcome was different. While we were in town, she climbed a tree and couldn't come down. But the opposite thing happened. So one day, when everybody else was not at home and grandma climbed a tree, then what happened? She climbed carefully. She was there, but she couldn't come down.